What is up, people? This is your brother on Democracy from the Pre-Sequel channel, and in this video we'll be doing a Helldivers 2 tier list. Now that I have collectively wasted almost 300 hours in the game, I think I'm somewhat eligible to tell you guys which stratagems you should use and which ones you shouldn't. That being said, most of my choices in the video are completely based off Helldive difficulty, and a lower difficulty tier list would be completely different, as a lot of the bad stratagems here would be a lot more viable on lower difficulties. So without further ado, let's start the tier list. So at first we have the Eagle Cluster Bomb, pretty useful for crowd control, works on both Terminate and Automaton maps, and is probably the best when it comes to clearing areas. A tier. So the next one is the Orbital Smoke Strike, which is kinda useless at the moment in Helldivers 2. If you ask me, Smoke in Helldivers 2 is kind of in a tough spot because it pretty much does nothing. So, and since stratagem slots are so crucial in the game, I would not recommend anybody that you waste your stratagem slot by equipping an Orbital Smoke Strike. So yeah, it needs a huge buff for it to be viable. D tier. So the next one is the Orbital Airburst Strike, which in my opinion is a decent stratagem, and I know a lot of people like to use this one, but then the question comes down to whether you're willing to pick this one over something more powerful, something which is better at clearing ads, dealing with heavies. So yeah, decent stratagem but needs a buff. C tier. So the next stratagem is the Orbital Laser, pretty much one of the most powerful stratagems that we have in the game at the moment. Pretty much clears everything, automaton posts, bug holes, you name it, it got it. Takes down heavies, battle titans, factory striders. Pretty useful, even though it has less uses, but it is the best at what it does. So yeah, easiest here. Up next we have the Orbital Precision Strike, probably one of the most consistent stratagems that we have in the game. You get it at the start of the game and it stays viable till end game. You can drop it on automaton posts, you can drop it on heavy enemies, can one-shot chargers, can one-shot bug spores. So a pretty viable stratagem. Also has just 1 minute and 40 seconds of cooldown time. So yeah, pretty useful. S tier. Up next we have the Orbital 380mm HE Barrage, which just got a buff a few weeks ago and has a ship module which improves it, and the shots are more consolidated, but it is still a hit or miss. It is pretty good for taking down automaton posts, but other than that, I don't see a use for it. So yeah, I think there are better options. B tier. Up next, we have the Eagle Napalm Airstrike, which is quite good at the moment, especially for bugs. And Arrowhead fixed DOT and gave the Napalm Strike its own ship module. So it is really good for bug missions, really helps you keep the bugs off the bay. I wish it was more useful for heavies, but unfortunately it isn't. It is just a great crowd control stratagem, and I use this one a lot for solo Helldive difficulties. A tier. The next one is the 120mm HE Barrage, which is like the lower version of the 380mm HE Barrage. So yeah, I would have considered this a better option over the 380mm if it had a lesser cooldown, but both are 240 seconds, so I don't think it makes sense to pick this one over the 380mm. So needs a lesser cooldown. C tier. The next one is the 110mm Rocket Pods, which in my opinion needs a huge buff. And this is a single target stratagem, which means it can take down chargers, automaton fabricators, but the huge problem is that most of the time it misses. Its targeting is greatly scuffed, and Arrowhead needs to take care of this one. Once they fix the targeting, I will probably rank it higher, probably on A tier or something, but for now, I will keep this one in C tier. Up next, we have the Stalwart Support Weapon, which in my opinion is really fun to use. It gives you a nice weapon feel, but the problem is it falls short when it comes to heavy enemies, and you will have to constantly rely on your stratagems. So if you can use this one with the EAT or something, then I would think it would make it more viable. But for now, for higher difficulties, you'll have to switch to something better. So for now, this is a C tier. Now we have the 500 kilogram bomb. I don't think I have to say anything about this stratagem. Probably one of the best stratagems we have in the game for every single faction. Works on every single thing. You can just clear posts, take down turrets, take down battle titans, take down striders, take down chargers, take down tanks. You can do pretty much everything with this stratagem, and I have like most of my solo hell dive that I have done with the 500 kilogram bomb, and it doesn't miss. It doesn't miss. So in my opinion, it is an easy S tier stratagem. Now we have the autocannon, which is probably the best weapon you can take for robot maps. Has its own supply pack, pretty good for terminates as well. Can destroy bug holes, can destroy automaton fabricators, and overall a really great weapon for Helldive difficulty. S tier. Now we have the Patriot Exosuit, which is a good overall stratagem. You won't be making a mistake if you take this one on Helldive difficulty. It is really great for defense missions, especially those TCS missions. Is really great at crowd control, can take down battle titans, can take down chargers. It falls a little short in automaton maps, but an overall a great stratagem. A tier. Up next we have the heavy machine gun, which is an okayish weapon when it comes to machine guns. Nothing special, not really good, not really bad, just an okay weapon. Also, it is called a heavy machine gun, but only has medium armor penetration, so I don't know how that it makes sense, but yeah, for now it is a B tier weapon. Next is the shield generator backpack, which is pretty much the best support backpack that you can take with yourself for Helldive difficulties. Pretty much works perfectly for bots, bugs, prevents you from slowing down when you get hit by hunters. So that is a huge plus. So in my opinion, this is an easy S tier support stratagem. Now we have the railgun, which was pretty much an S tier weapon when Helldivers 2 first launched, but then they nerfed it very hard and it became almost useless. Though they rebuffed it again, but it is nowhere near as powerful as it was in the past, but it's still quite good. Works pretty well against bots, and it can take down charger legs in just 2 unsafe shots. So yeah, it is pretty usable, and I would say it is pretty good at what it does. An easy A tier in my eyes. Now we have the laser cannon, which was pretty trash when the game first came out, but after a lot of buffs, it is now a great weapon to use for all difficulties, and now it has got armor penetration, so works pretty much on everything and is great, I mean insanely accurate when it comes to bots. So I would say it is an easy A tier support weapon. Now we have the arc thrower, probably one of the best support weapons that we have in the game at the moment. Works for every faction, staggers bots, staggers bugs, has unlimited ammo. Previously it used to stagger hulls really hard, so this was kind of like an S tier weapon for bots as well, but since they nerfed it a little bit, it is not as good, but it is still the best at what it does. So this is gonna be an easy S tier choice. Now we have the guard dog support backpack, which in my opinion is pretty bad at the moment. It is a guard dog that shoots bullets and needs to constantly reload. You will find it spending more time in your bag than shooting enemies, and is inferior in every way than the guard dog rover. So it is an D tier support backpack. It is pretty trash. Now we have the spear. I don't even know what to say about this weapon. It is pretty trash at the moment. I mean, it works well when it does work, but most of the time it doesn't. The locking needs to be buffed, the targeting needs to be buffed, and yeah, once they buff the targeting, I think this could pretty much be an S tier weapon, but for now it is not more than a D tier support weapon. Now we have the grenade launcher, which is a decent support weapon, doesn't really specialize in anything. Really good for crowd control, really good for clearing out areas, really useful when you're taking this one in those destroy egg missions. And yeah, overall great for clearing crowds, but unfortunately it doesn't do much to the heavies. Also, the ammo economy is kind of garbage. You like almost need the backpack, the supply backpack every time when you pick this one. So I would rate this at B tier. Next is the orbital Gatling barrage, and just like the Airburst strike, it is another orbital stratagem that showers down bullets. But the problem is there are better options available, especially on higher difficulties. This misses a lot. I have actually seen enemies walk past it like they don't care at all. Yeah, so in my opinion, it still needs a huge buff, and for now there are better options available. C tier. Next is the machine gun, which is probably every Helldiver's first support weapon. In the lower levels, it is quite fun to use and gives you a good weapon feel just like the Stalwart. But when you level up, when you reach higher levels, it falls short when you're dealing with heavies and other enemies. Really good for clearing crowds, but other than that, nothing special. I would not take it on Helldive difficulty, especially when I'm doing solo, so C tier needs a buff. The next one is the Ballistic Shield Backpack, which in my opinion is really good at lower levels when the enemy numbers are not that much, but once you go past level 7, it becomes completely useless, especially on automaton maps where you get hit from everywhere. So I would say that the Shield Backpack is a better option, and this needs a buff. Also, it doesn't block bug melee attacks, so yeah, it is completely useless when it comes to bug maps as well. Also, one shot from an automaton turret can break it, so once it breaks you'll have to wait for the cooldown, and yeah, until then you're just left defenseless, so C tier. The next one is the Supply Pack Support Backpack. I honestly love this stratagem so much. I pair it with every single support weapon that has trash ammo economy, and it actually makes them viable. Also, on top of that, you just get free grenade. It carries 4 resupplies, so you can get free grenades, free stems, free ammo, and you can also resupply your teammates. So it is an easy S tier stratagem. Now we have the Flamethrower support weapon, which was pretty bad when Helldivers 2 first came out. But since then, Arrowhead has buffed the weapon and fixed DOT, and also gave the Flamethrower its own ship module. So it is really useful for bugs, can take down chargers if you just aim at their legs in just seconds. Not really useful for Bile Titan, and it's extremely useless for robots, but it is still a good support weapon, and I would rate this at A tier. The next one is the God Dog Rover, which is the God Dog you should take at higher difficulties if you want a God Dog to take with you. Has unlimited ammo, pretty much is completely automatic. You don't have to do anything, you just equip it and then you just forget it. Really useful in bug missions, works in robot missions as well, and is overall a really good support backpack, and almost guaranteed to give you more kills than your teammates. So a decent A tier support backpack. The next is the recoilless rifle, which again is a decent support weapon. You won't be making a mistake when you take it to higher levels. Has its own backpack, even though the reload is pretty slow, but works pretty well on every single map. So also, if you have a teammate reloading it for you, so the reload time almost like comes down 4 times, so it is pretty useful. So I would rate this at A tier. The next one is the Jump Pack Support Backpack. Now I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I don't think it is a good stratagem. In fact, I think that you would be wasting a stratagem slot if you take this instead of any other support pack on higher difficulties. Yes, it is fun on lower difficulties, but when it comes to level 8 or level 9, you are better off taking the Rover, the supply pack, or the shield generator pack instead of this one. Also, as you level up and start learning how to maneuver, how to avoid the enemies better, you will no longer need this. So in my opinion, it is a B tier stratagem. Up next, we have the anti-material rifle or the sniper rifle support weapon in Helldivers 2. Right now, it is my favorite weapon to use against the bots. You can just two-shot hulks if you're shooting them in the eye. So yeah, I just use this one every time when I'm running a bot mission. Not really that useful for bugs, but it is a good A tier support weapon. But for bots, not for bugs. Up next, we have the EAT or the expendable anti-tank. Now, when I say support weapon, this is what I mean. This is the true definition of a support weapon. You can use it with the flamethrower, you can use it with the arc thrower, you can use it with literally any other support weapon, and it shines everywhere. Can one-shot chargers, can two-shot ball titans, can take care of bug spores. Yeah, it works quite well in bot maps as well, but it really shines in bug maps. So this is an easy S tier support weapon. Now we have the Quasar Cannon, my absolutely favorite support weapon to use on Helldive difficulties, solo or with squad. Can take care of Bile Titans, can take care of Chargers, can take care of Hulks, can take care of Automaton turrets, can take care of Striders, can take care of tanks. You just name it and it got it. A proper definition of an S tier stratagem. Yes, the cooldown got a little nerf, but considering how bad the other support weapons in Helldivers 2 are at the moment, this is an easy A tier, just kidding, it is an S tier support weapon. Now we have the Eagle Airstrike, my favorite Eagle stratagem to use alongside the 500 kilogram bombs. Have done plenty of solo Helldive difficulties with this one. Works extremely well on bot missions. Bug missions have 3 uses and insanely low cooldown. So I would be doing a blunder if I don't put it on S tier. Now we have the Shield Generator Relay. I have mixed feelings when it comes to this one. I have tried using it on higher difficulties, but I don't know, the health of this one kind of falls short every time. Yes, it comes in really handy when my team is trying to extract, but other than that, I don't know, it is kind of useless in bug missions. And yeah, not a decent stratagem. I would not waste a stratagem slot on this one. B tier. Up next, we have the EMS Mortar Sentry. Now, when I'm carrying a Sentry with me on higher difficulties, this is the one that I carry almost every time. At first, it used to be used only during defense missions, but it is pretty much perfect in every single mission. Just stops the enemies on their paths and gives you a lot of breathing time. So yeah, in fact, I have started using this one a lot more on bot planets. So this is an easy S tier sentry. Up next, we have the Rocket Sentry. Now this is a decent sentry, nothing special. Works kind of well in bot planets. Not enough power, I would say. You are better off using the autocannon instead of this one. The time frame between each rocket shot is kind of long. I wish that it would have shot more frequently, and also like after 1 or 2 shots on bug planets, the hunters and the chargers just destroy it anyway. So yeah, I'm not sure. I will just put it on C tier. Needs a buff. Now we have the Gatling Sentry. Now the problem with these sentries is that these are really good at clearing down low level enemies, but the thing is, at higher levels, I'm taking the stratagems with me to take care of the big guys. I have my primary weapon, I have my grenades, I have my secondary weapon to take care of the smaller enemies, so I'm not sure I would like a stratagem to solely take care of smaller enemies. So maybe it's just me, but I would not put it above C tier. Next, we have the Tesla Tower. Now this is a difficult one. It has undergone several buffs and now has an extra, has a ship module that gives in an extra arc and is pretty useful on defense missions. Takes care of Bile Spears really well. So I would say it is a average B tier stratagem. Now we have the normal Mortar Sentry. Now the problem with this sentry is that it works really well on lower difficulties, but when it comes to higher difficulties, when there are a lot of chargers hulks, especially in those defense missions, this kind of falls short and needs the EMS mortar sentry to work almost every single time. Also, when the enemy is at your face, you and your team will most probably get nuked by this one, so a B tier. Now we have the anti-personnel minefield. Now, mines are in a tough spot in Helldivers 2. They're almost good at nothing, misses most of the targets. I really like the execution though, and I would want them to be more powerful in the future. But right now, they're kind of useless, and you better off using a different kind of sentry instead of this one. So, trash. D tier, needs more power. Next we have the machine gun sentry. Everything that I said about the Gatling sentry applies to this one as well. Really good for taking down smaller enemies, not really useful when it comes to the big guys, and really inefficient when it comes to higher difficulties. So yeah, I would place this exactly where I placed the Gatling sentry, C tier. Next we have the autocannon sentry, my favorite sentry after the EMS mortar strike. I try to carry it every time when I'm playing with my friends. Has great power, can take down Bile Titans, can take down Chargers. In fact, it can take down almost every single heavy if placed on the right spot. So when I'm playing with my friends, we like to drop our autocannons all together and watch everything get decimated. A tier. Next we have the incendiary mines. Now I wonder where I'm going to place it. This is even worse than the anti-personnel minefield and needs a huge buff, so yeah, trash. D tier. Now we have the orbital walking barrage. Now on paper, this sounds really good. It is like a 380mm HE barrage, but more consolidated. But for some reason, it is super inaccurate and misses almost every single target, almost every single time. So it is extremely unreliable when it comes to high level difficulties and when you're trying to take down the heavies really quick. D tier. Up next we have the HMG emplacement. Now this stratagem has a lot of potential, but the problem is any stratagem that forces you to stay in one single position on higher difficulties is a huge problem. You will get charged by chargers almost every single time. You'll get shot from all sides on bot missions. So no, I would not recommend that you use this on level 8 or level 9. C tier. Up next we have the Eagle strafing run. Now when it comes to Eagle stratagems, I don't like to shit on them, and I would say even the bad ones are still kind of useful, but I'll have to make an exception for this one. This one is pretty bad. Is only good for taking down small enemies. That too, it misses a lot, doesn't even scratch the big guys, and overall a pretty useless Eagle stratagem. D tier, trash. Next we have the Eagle Smoke Strike. Now as I said before, everything that I said about the Orbital Smoke Strike applies to this one as well. Again, smoke in Helldivers 2 is in a really tough spot, doesn't really do anything. People say that it blocks the vision of your enemies, but I have literally got shot by an automaton turret through the smoke. So no, not recommended at all. D, trash. Up next we have the Orbital EMS Strike. I absolutely love this stratagems. I use this every time when I'm doing weapon testings or support weapon testings. Freezes everything right where they at and has helped my team get so many successful extractions and only has a 75 seconds cooldown. So an easy A tier. Now we have the Orbital Gas Strike. Now I have tried using this stratagem before. In fact, if you just check out my last solo Helldive difficulty video, you would notice me using this one because Arrowhead gave this one as an extra stratagem in that mission. And I would like to say that this is an overall good stratagem, nothing great. Good for clearing crowds, good for taking down small enemies, but falls short when it comes to the big guys. I mean, this is quite good, especially after Arrowhead fixed DOT, but I'm not sure if I would pick this over the Eagle Napalm Strike since it has 2 uses compared to this one which has just 1. Also, the Eagle Napalm Strike has a ship module boosting its damage. A good B tier stratagem. Next we have the Orbital Rail Cannon Strike, probably one of the best stratagems that we have. in the game at the moment. When I'm not using the 500 kilogram bomb, I'm always using this one. Can take care of every single heavy in the game, can take care of turrets, can take care of striders, can take care of Bile Titans, one-shot chargers, one-shot hulks, and pretty much an all-rounder stratagem. Easiest here. Last but not the least, we have the Airburst rocket launcher. By the way, the stratagem list did not have the Airburst rocket launcher icon in it, so I went ahead, cropped the picture, and added it by myself. So yeah, so this stratagem, this support weapon just got released a few days ago. It was pretty bad when it got released. It was killing more teammates than the enemies, but right now, after Arrowhead fixed the detonation and fixed the targeting, it is quite good for clearing mobs. Doesn't really do much for the big guys, but it can take down fabricators and bug holes, and is quite useful for taking down the smaller enemies on both the bot side and the bug side. It's pretty useful for taking down devastators, ball spewers as well. So I cannot believe I'm saying this, but this is a good support weapon at the moment. B tier. And that brings us to the end of the Helldivers 2 Stratagems tier list. If you think that you agree with the tier list, let me know in the comment section below. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.